but most of you are here, and because you joined early and because you are on time, I also want to start on time, 5 minutes too late for that. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is day 3 of the IBTC CIMA Get Connected conference. The purpose of why we wanted to do this conference for our CIMA students is for an assortment of reasons. One of it is that we are in the southern tip of Africa, in southern and South Africa. We are studying a global qualification. With the pandemic, we've become really isolated and the world has changed around us. And I thought we could all do with being a little bit more closely connected, and specifically being connected with the UK and the US, where the qualification stems from, and where those partnerships are being where those partnerships are held. So in this presentation, in this conference, we have invited people from CIMA South Africa, we have invited people from CIMA in the UK, BPP in the UK, also lecturers, people who used to lecture for us, and CIMA members who've worked in the UK and are currently working in South Africa. Just to remind us that we are studying a global qualification because we've got global aspirations. So this is session number 5. What have you missed? Some of you, I see you have returned. Welcome. For those of you who haven't seen the other presentations, on day 1, we started off with Sarah Bucks from CIMA Southern Africa, in which we discussed CIMA in a South African context. And what I liked about that session is that because we are talking about South Africa, we couldn't not talk about CICA or CASA and the role of CIMA in the reality of the South African context, and what CIMA is doing in terms of that brand building, and what the salary differences and the differences in esteem and NQF level. And I think that was a really nice, robust discussion. After that, we had Nicola from BPP in the UK, and we had Trevor from CIMA UK, and they spoke us through the value of a CIMA qualification globally, because we have it's a global qualification and we might want to work globally one day. We potentially will, never mind where we live. So that was also a very interesting discussion. And then last night we had Clancy, I asked him specifically, a lot of sessions are based on how to pass first time and exam prep, but can you tell me exactly what I need to do if I fail? How do I use the blueprint? How do I look at my performance descriptors? What exactly do I need to do if I fail to ensure that it doesn't happen again? So Clancy spoke about that in terms of OT and case studies, so that was great. And then now we're in a session, then we had a fourth session with this Nicola, and she spoke about the secret to passing, and there's a couple of tricks. BBP has got a superb, consistently higher pass rate than the global average, and we asked them, what is it? What are the tricks, the things that you can teach us, what we need to do? And she showed us how to use the various resources you get with your courses to make sure you use it appropriately. And then today we have a PER session, and if you don't know what PER is, then you might either be in the wrong session or you might just not be familiar with the terminology. And I don't want to give it away, so I want to tell you that with me today I've got Premi Chetty from CIMA South Africa. She's the Associate Member, Memberships Africa. Premi heads up the CIMA membership program and forms part of the SA team. Premi, welcome. Do you maybe just want to tell us what is your role at CIMA and what you've prepared for us today?
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for the opportunity to present our PER today. So my role at CIMA is membership. So it's to take the applicants through the process and get them into membership. So we'll take you through the process, what is required. We'll help you to check your documents, make sure you have everything in order before we take it to the assessors. Once it goes to the assessors, I will negotiate, or I will be talking to the assessors all the time to make sure everything is in order. When we have feedback, we will connect with the applicants again, let you know what the outcomes are, and we'll tell you what the waiting period is for membership. And once you have your membership, you just wait for the certificate to arrive. So it's quite exciting. It's for me, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because sometimes it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. So when the assessors are stuck with something, they will communicate to me, and I will get in touch with the student. So we won't just leave it and let it, wait for the outcomes. We will make it happen for you, if possible. So what I have prepared today is a presentation for membership. So Patrick, my colleague, works in the customer services team, and Patrick will be fielding the questions if you have, or if you get stuck and you're struggling with your application, Patrick will be assisting as well. So thank you, Nikki.
Patrick, welcome. I was just about to ask you what your role is, but I now hear it is in customer service. So I do have a question for you though. Is this role or function at CIMA to assist students with the PR component, has it always existed, or was it in response to students just struggling with that component and CIMA decided to add resources to it and support students?
Well, hi, Nikki. Good day, everybody. So with Premi doing the membership, so Premi's been in charge of helping students with membership from the beginning. And this is all measures that was put in place to make sure that we can get a student successfully through membership. And that is where we then incorporated doing the pre-checking, getting students to actually send us the documents, whereby I will then, or Premi will actually go through the documents and actually give the student a detailed pre-checking feedback on just the format, because we're not assessors, so we just look at the format and we would then advise that student precisely on what they would still need to change or add into the application. Because we try to make sure by the time it goes to the assessors that there shouldn't be a comeback or to the student other than giving them a positive outcome.
And then tell me, are there students, have you in your lifetime encountered students who do all their exams but never get around to membership?
Yes, it does happen that students sometimes do, either through not having all the experience at the time when they finish. And I think that's why it's also important that students know the time frame that they've got.
What is the time frame?
So after you've written your last exam on strategic level, you then have 4 years to gain and to submit your experience. And that 4 years is basically because we know that not all students are working at the same time while doing CIMA. Some students come directly out of either university or even out of high school. So they won't have that experience by the time they've completed their studies. So it does give them a bit of time still to gain that experience and get the application in.
Okay, I think I can see Premier's thinking, why are you asking these questions? This is all in my presentation. Just let me get started.
No, I'll just explain you about students. So if you do not apply for your membership within the 4 years, you'll still remain on our database. The only thing is you'll be timed off, and then there's a penalty. So we try to avoid that on a regular basis, or every year. I will pull up a list of the students that are at risk of being timed off for that current year. and we get in contact with them and we try and motivate them to put in their application so they don't lose out. But we do have
a penalty, a financial penalty, or a,
yes, a financial penalty.
like a,
so they won't go back
fine.
to write exams, but there will be a financial penalty. So
okay.
The whole package to come back once you are timed off can range anything into about £500-600 to come back.
Okay.
So
okay.
we try
let's
to
try and avoid that.
Yes, so we do catch the students and try to, we've put out safety nets just to catch them and make sure that they don't fall through that, but no submission of application and all those lovely things. So we do try.
Okay, okay. Excellent. Premi, do you want to get started on your presentation then?
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. So the whole aim of the session is for you to be able to identify your work experience that is relevant towards the CIMA membership. So we have two different portals for application. One is the PER, which is the practical experience requirements, and the other one is MAT, which is the membership application tool. That's the online one. So the process that we're taking you through today is the PER, the one where you complete the documentation and you send that in to us. So why is it necessary? It's a guarantee for the employers out there that you have demonstrated the appropriate experience, and it's also evidence that you have the theory studied, the knowledge that you've gained, and you can apply it in practice in the workplace. So what are the benefits of becoming an ACMA? You get a new designation, ACMA and CGMA. So you'll have two designations. You'll get 2 certificates for it once you qualify. Also, it makes you more employable. It's a global recognition, and you can use your qualification throughout globally. It's recognized globally, so wherever you go, they do know CIMA, and also it's aligned to the NQF level. For the South African students, we give you commission of Oats as well. You don't have to apply. We've done all the necessary paperwork. All you need to do is get the stamps. So our progression into membership and the policy is you need to have completed all 3 of the strategic OT exams. If you have the case study pending, that's fine, you can still apply. You won't become a member immediately. Once you've passed that exam, automatically you will become a member. The other requirement is you need to have at least 3 years relevant practical experience. So you can be working for 10, 15 years, but if you do not have relevant experience according to the brochure and the guidelines, it's not going to be of any benefit for you. So we were talking about earlier on, you have 4 years in which to apply for membership. Our practical experience has 3 areas that you need to be compliant in. One is basic experience, core experience, and in the core experience, you need to have a minimum of 18 months verified. Supplementary experience, so between the basic and supplementary, it can make up the other 18 months. So this is what is in the basic experience. That's what's in the core, and that is what is in supplementary. So we do have a PER brochure, which we will send to whoever is ready to apply for membership. You will obviously liaise with IBTC, Nikki, Pam, Shurisa, and let us know then we will send out the documentation to you. So in the PER brochure, under basic, these are the requirements. Under core, you don't have to have a tick box or a tick against each and every one of the these are the subheadings. Below the subheadings, there's more drop down. So you don't have to have a tick for each and every one. We can explain it to you in more detail as and when you are ready to apply. So to complete the application, there's 4 parts to the application that needs to be completed. We will supply you with 3 parts, 3 templates for the application. So we'll supply you the membership application form, which you need to complete, employment summary, and we will give you the record of skills and development. Section 3, the detailed record of experience. That is the document you need to comply. And you need to compile it, and you need to comply to the regulations and the rules of it. So we'll take you through all of that as well. So in section 1, this is just giving you an idea of what you need to complete, all your personal details, your verifiers, your current employment details, confirmation of payment. That will be in the form of an email. So once you make the payment, you'll send that to us. And we have a checklist at the back of the application form that's just to help you make sure you've done everything that you need. So for the verification, you need to get a minimum of 2 verifiers, and they must be able to verify the relevant 36 months experience. You can have more than 2 verifiers if that is going to add up to make up your 36 months of verified experience. Employment summary. So you'll enter your full employment history starting with the earliest first. So if you've completed high school and you went on to university, then that would be the date you qualified at university. If you haven't been to university, it will be when you left high school. If you had any breaks in between in your employment, you will put it in on there. So you'll just put in unemployed, sabbatical leave, study leave, whatever it is, and you'll calculate the months. Each role must be recorded separately. When I go through the example on the presentation, you'll have a better idea of it. So, and then enter the number of months gained in each area for basic, core, and supplementary. So this is what the employment summary looks like. So you will complete it with all your personal details. You'll have a start date and an end date for each of your roles. So if you look at the second line for Best Bank, still at the same company, but 2 different roles, because you'll see the positions have changed. So it's recorded separately. So when we're looking at the employment summary in your role as a bookkeeper, we would expect to see more of your basic experience, maybe some core experience, very little supplementary. Even if there's no supplementary, it's fine. Moving on to, as your role, you move up promotions and that, we'd like to see less in your basic because you'll have people reporting to you, and we will see more in the core area. Any questions so far? Is everybody okay? You can just put it in the chat and Patrick will assist you. So the detailed record of experience, this is a document that you need to compile. So we'll give you an example of what it should look like. So avoid using the employment CV style, because you're not applying for a job. You actually want to record your experience. No bullet points. You talk throughout the document, you'll talk as I did this, I did that, I was part of a team, my duties, my responsibilities. This is all about you. This is about you, how you gained your experience. Anything between 5 and 15 pages on an A4 is acceptable. So if you've got 6 or 7 pages, it should be fine, provided you explained correctly and in detail. But if you increase the font to make up those pages, it's not going to work. It's got to be actual write-up explanation of how you gain that experience. So this is an example, a poor example, using bullet points. As you can see, this says nothing about the applicant or about the job that was done. So if we look at this one, which is a better example, so you see how the write-up is. It's giving more explanation into what the applicant has actually done. And this is what the assessors look for. Another example. So the detailed record of experience for each position held, you put the name of your employer, your job title, your period of employment, so you'll have a start date and an end date, who you reported to. We don't want a name, we want the position. So I reported to the board of directors, I reported to the CEO. That's what we look for. A brief description of the organization, and then your detail of the work carried out. Also, what you can use is for your detailed record of experience is how did you actually approach your task? How often did you do it? Why did you need to do it? What type of IT equipment you used? Who helped you? Who was your customer? Were you part of a team? Most importantly, what was the outcomes? So the record of skills and development, this is section 4. We will give you the template where it's got the personal self-management bit that you need to write up, interpersonal, and the organizational skills. This is, you don't have to write a lengthy explanation. Half a page of each one for each one of the 3 is sufficient, provided you explain in detail what you've done and how you went about doing it. This is so the assessors can see that you do have those soft skills and that you know how to do self-management, you know how to manage others, and you also know how to manage organizational resources. So when is the right time to apply? Earlier on, when we just started the presentation, we said, once you've done your 3 OT exams and if you've got that experience, you can apply. If you don't have that experience, you've got 4 years in which to apply. So use the practical experience requirement guideline to monitor your progress to apply for membership. Make notes as soon as you start gaining the relevant experience. And this is important. You can be working for 10, 15 years in a company, but not gaining the relevant experience. So you don't have to leave your job to go and gain the experience. If you need to get experience in the finance department, you can ask your line manager to second you to that department so you can gain the relevant experience. The important thing is to get the experience and to get it signed off. That's it from me. So if you need more information, this is the email address that you can email us. Patrick and I are owning that mailbox and we will respond to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. That's it from me. Thank you. Back to you, Nikki.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions that I've got from the chat, which I can throw at you. Somebody wanted to know, are the existing or the updated requirements easier or better? Maybe you want to explain a little bit about the updated or existing requirements. And also I noticed that from a chat with Patrick that the requirements or the framework for the requirements is different if it's online or on paper, and maybe you can touch upon that a bit.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So the presentation that was done now was basically on the paper-based existing application process, where the experience is then covered under 3 areas: your basic, core, and supplementary experience, where you need to then have a minimum of 18 months between your basic and supplementary, and a minimum of 18 in the core. The updated application process, the MAT one, which is done online, that is then focused on the CGMA competency framework, where they look at your people, leadership, and technical skills. Now, the online application, a lot of people are struggling with it. And the reason for that is that there's documents that you need to read through to get a clearer understanding of how to do it. But what we find is that sometimes the students don't actually read through that and they just start going online. And the minute you start just going online, you might find that you've completed all the experience. And when you get to the end, when you now have to go and say, submit or click, is my experience ready? You then find that now it throws out a whole list of errors, of things that you didn't do, because you need to obviously have a certain amount of information that's put on. You can't go over 60 months of experience. If it goes over 60 months, it won't allow you to submit it. But what I find with especially the students that I deal with with the membership is that a lot more students are finding the existing one much easier to do and much quicker to do. And this is the one where we can then actually go through your documents and do the pre-checking and then send it to the assessors locally to get it assessed.
That's fair. Do you think the written one will be laid aside at some point?
I think at some point they would obviously move on to just having the online process. But obviously there is still some glitches that they're busy sorting out. And it's all things to do where you can't, at a certain amount of time, it actually times you out. So the advice is then that if you are doing the online, that you actually have to do it on a Word document first, so that by the time when you go online, you're not busy sitting and typing everything. So I think at a later stage, they might just move completely onto the online. But for now, the paper-based one is one that most of our students, especially locally in South Africa and in the Africa region, most of our students do at this stage prefer to do the paper-based one.
Okay. Relevant, not relevant, I don't know, but I just did some high school applications for my daughter, and some of them were online and some of them were paper-based, and it's quite interesting that we find ourselves in this semi-digital world. And I don't know which is worse. I also had the experience where it didn't save, and eventually I thought, oh well, if I have to type this in one more time. So it is interesting to see that at all levels we are still need technology to well, it's not always quite there yet. So okay, so paper-based does feel a little bit well, better from the perspective that you can then review what I've done and you can then assist me in that way.
Yes.
I wanted to ask either you or Premi, so that deals with that question. There's been a lot of questions about oh, no, wait, sorry, before I move on, I wanted to know, is there value and would you consider or are you doing demos to show people how to do the online application? Like you're doing now for the paper-based one?
Yes, so so from time to time, especially with me working in customer services, a lot of the times I get applications or I get an inquiry from somebody that wants to do the paper-based application. So I do from time to time, I would set up if I've got, sometimes I do it with 3 people, 4 people. I
Okay.
even at times have one person just on a Zoom or Teams call where I would then
Okay.
actually go through the documents and actually show them, or they would sometimes already have everything ready
Mm.
and would share the document with me on a Teams or Zoom meeting, and we'd go through it. And I can then also then advise and say, okay, change this, do this, remove the bullet
Okay.
points or whatever the case. So yes, from time to time, we do these sessions as
Okay.
well.
Okay, I would be happy if you wanted to join. On every Thursday, we have a SEMA Speak to Us session, and that is a session where some of our lecturers, some of our tutors, some of our staff, we do on a rotational basis. We come on Zoom and we wait for students and non-students and other people's students and anybody who's got any interest in SEMA to join and then shoot the breeze with us. It's a little bit like having coffee with us, but you have to bring your own coffee. And then sometimes it's themed. Sometimes we say, hey, lecturer, do you want to, you just had such a great pass rate. Do you want to chat about upcoming case study? Or sometimes we invite speakers and maybe you want to join us in one of those later this year and you can take us all through an online demo.
Okay, definitely.
Okay, cool.
I see there's some questions in the chat. There's a question, if you have worked under one manager for the past 4 years. So if you've worked under one manager for the past 4 years, and that is your direct line manager that has direct knowledge of your experience because you report directly to them, the requirement is still that you would need to have 2 verifiers. So one could then be the direct line manager, whereas the other one can then be that direct line manager's manager that they report to, providing that they are aware of your experience.
Okay, that's a good one. Somebody else also asked me if I have my own firm, how do I, can I get, how do I meet the requirements?
Okay, so if you've got your own company that you are running, you would then have to get either, if it's a consulting company, you would have clients. So your clients could then sign off on your experience, and also your auditor can also then sign off on the experience.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. So either your clients or your auditors
yes.
can sign off.
And then I see somebody saying, if you've started the online version and already had previous employees signed off and no longer in contact with them, how do you go about fixing any errors? All right. So with the online one, if the changes that you are making or the errors that you are needing to fix would require it to go back to that line manager to verify again, because the minute you change anything on the experience, that verification is no longer valid. It needs to now be because you've added some more experience or a more detailed write-up onto it. So it would then need to go back to, you would need to have an email address for that direct line manager. But also what a lot of students don't know is that if you start the application online, as long as it's not yet submitted, you can still come on and do the entire application on the paper-based, although it is a completely different one than the online. So it's not like once you start it online, you can't opt to come onto the paper-based. So you can still do the paper-based as long as it wasn't submitted online.
Okay. And then we have a question here where somebody says, does the person who signed it off need a certain qualification?
Okay, so the person that's signing off on your experience just needs to be in a more senior position than you. So your direct line manager. It can't be somebody on the same level as you. It can't be HR, and it can't be a family member. So it needs to be somebody in a more senior role than
And
yourself.
there's no specific qualification requirements?
No, as long as they are,
Yeah.
they don't need
as
to
long
be.
as they are not HR, Nikki.
Yes.
HR is not allowed to sign your experience. So it's got to be your direct line manager that has knowledge of the work undertaken. So it's got to be your line manager, and it can be his line manager, it can be the board of directors, the CEO, the financial director, because they would have the direct knowledge of the work undertaken.
I see there's another question. Is there an example we can obtain for the online, for the MAT? Yes, so there is 3 documents basically when you go onto the CIMA Global website. One would be the brochure that explains everything. There's also a step-by-step guide that would actually show you how exactly to do the online application. So it will give you a breakdown with screenshots and everything.
Excellent. Then before we get to David's question about resubmitting his experience, I just want to come back to an older question. I had a question about something, when do I become the Commissioner of Oats, or when can I apply for it? And the other one is, can I sign off financials?
Okay, so the Commissioner of Oats, for Commissioner of Oats, as soon as your membership is approved and you become an associate, so once your membership is approved, it is an automatic benefit for our members within South Africa, where they are then automatically a Commissioner of Oats. There's no application they need to make. They just need to get their stamp made at a station at a shop.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great. And then can I sign off financials?
So the financials is on basically on 100 points where you can sign off. We do have someone within the SA team as well that can provide actually more details within that. So we can still, I'll also forward on that information to yourself as well as to Sharissa, so that you do also have that information at the end.
Okay.
Nikki, I see there's a question. Does CICA articles count towards PER? Yes, it does. And it will only count towards the basic experience, and that 12 months. So from your CICA articles, you can, it will count towards 12 months of the basic experience.
Excellent. Okay, great. Also the question, I can strike that off. Then somebody asked, do I need to register with SEMA first or with IBTC? I don't know, probably with SEMA first, but I would contact IBTC first, because we can help you with the SEMA component of it in terms of talking to you about your exemptions or the pathway, or assisting you to register and it's probably good. If you want to, you can send me your email address. In the chat, I won't be able to find you again, and then I can talk you through that process a bit. And then somebody said, I got experience, but I just wrote down old employer, and I can't exactly remember what I was referring to, but I did see somebody said their employer passed away, unfortunately, or their manager.
Okay, so yeah, I've got, I don't know if this is the one where it says, is there a cutoff how old experience should be accepted? If the signing supervisor has left the organization where the experience was gained, can they still sign? So with the experience, it can be from your any of your previous roles. Some of it can be from your first role, if that was part of the relevant experience. And then also depending on how long you are in your current role. So if you are at your current role already for a year or longer, then that role would also then need to be verified. And somebody from a previous employment can still sign off. With the paper-based, you would just need to email that line manager the form to fill it in and sign. They would, however, there'll be a difference between what their position was when you reported to them and what their current position is, but there is space on the form where they would actually put, for example, to say, Patrick reported to me while I was the finance manager at ABC Bank, just as an example. So there is space where the verifier can still put that information in as well.
Okay, okay. That makes sense. Sarisha said, I have 20 years experience, which covers much of the experience required. My manager from, say, 15 years ago, my managers are uncontactable. What happens in this case where they cannot sign off? And Raisa says, I have a similar situation.
Well,
what do they do?
It is a tough one because when you're applying, you need to have 36 months relevant experience signed off. So there would need to be 2 verifiers, and between your 2 verifiers, they need to be able to verify the 36 months, be it from previous employment or current position, but there would need to be 36 months signed off.
And okay, so if I understand correctly, you said a client could be a verifier.
Okay, so in the current role, sorry, Patrick. So in the current role, how long are they working at that company? So if they're there more than 3-4 years, then that experience can be signed off at that company, because then they would cover the 36 months in that company. But they will still need to write up the experience gained from previous employers as well. So they will still write their whole working history, but the ones where they get the verification, they need to get one from their current role, and it can be one from one of the older employers. So if they've already got it verified and signed off, let's say 3-4 years ago, that's fine. I'll still accept it, because we do understand people move on. You lose contact with them. So yes, I'll accept that. But if it is like going back 15 years and you can't, or for example, and you can't get in touch with the person, so if your current role has enough, or you have enough years at the current role, or the last 2 jobs you had, if it covers the 36 months, then that's also acceptable.
Okay, I see there's a question. If my direct manager is now working for another company, can they sign me off on their new company letterhead? So with the application, it's not needed for them to sign off on a letterhead, because there is a form for the verifiers that they fill in and then sign. So as the applicant or the student, you can already put in the dates. For instance, if it is between January 2020 till March, till current, that the person is verifying, you can already put in the dates. And all they would need to do is then fill in and sign that particular document. So they don't need to put anything on a company letterhead. They would just state what their current position is at the new company. And they would also just state what their previous position was while you were reporting to them at the previous company.
Okay. Okay. Let me just cast my eye back and see if there were any other questions.
Okay.
A lot of the questions are the same, and I think it's different flavors of it's been so long ago, or I can't get hold of that person, or the person isn't around anymore. What do I do? Let me see. Any guys? Any more questions?
I see one. Yeah. It says, must it just be clients or auditor signing, or can the CEO, qualified professional accountant of the company that we own, sign for me as well? So as long as the person that's signing off is, if it's your own company, if you're co-owning the company with someone, if the CEO is more senior than you within the company, then yes, they can sign off.
Which I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you need 2 people for the whole PAR or just each job? So the main thing is that you need to have 2 verifiers that can verify 36 months. If you're claiming more than 36 months, you can have more than 2 verifiers as well. So it doesn't have to just be 2, but 2 is the minimum requirement.
Okay.
And it can be one from each.
Thank you. I see I've missed a question from David, which he kindly posted again. It's nothing like a little bit of persistence, guys. David, if I remember correctly, said, but I already submitted my experience for my gateway application. Now, really, do I have to submit it again for my membership? I guess the answer is yes, because they fulfill 2 different functions.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Sorry, David. Yes. So Nicolette, hi Nicolette, welcome back. I remember you from last night. My apologies, I joined a bit late. Who can I contact, say, tomorrow, just to get clarity about PER?
She can give me a call tomorrow.
Okay, you can give Patrick a call tomorrow. What else? Okay, I think, does CIMA still do face-to-face assessments in South Africa? We used to host those, but I don't think we do them anymore.
So currently with the COVID, we are not doing face-to-face sessions because, you know, for everybody's safety. But what we are doing is we are trying to move the applications along quicker. So all they need to do is just contact us, because I run these sessions currently with the assessors. So we have a cutoff date every month, by anything submitted by the 15th of the month, we get it out to the assessors. Then anything coming in after the 15th of the month, it'll go into the next batch of assessments. So currently we've just come into the end of March, which we are now finalizing the last little bits of the March application. So if everything is ready, then we put it through. So no face-to-face for now, but we sort of try and treat your application as a face-to-face. We give it priority and we try and push it through as quickly as possible. Let's say about within 10 to 15 working days.
Oh, okay, that is super fast. I think we have to start wrapping up. There might be people who just joined now for the second session, which is a super exciting session. And they are wondering, I wonder if I'm early or if I'm late. You are nice and early, guys. You're catching the end of the PER session, how to document your practical experience requirement. I have learned a lot of things tonight. What was quite interesting is that there's paper-based and online application, and it seems to be that with the paper-based application, you just open yourself up to a little bit more support and help and guidance from the South African team. I want to thank Premi and Patrick for their presentation and for joining us in this SEMA conference, and really a SEMA value add to the students and members. And next up, if you have missed the session and you are interested in it, don't worry. Pam at our office says she's got your email address. At the end of the conference, we're going to send everybody the link to our conference experience page. And that is where the experience of the conference continues. So all our sessions are recorded and they are hosted there by day, by order of the event, and you can go and check it out and look at the ones that you are interested in. If there are extra documents, I think Patrick promised me, I asked him, he didn't say yes yet, to send me I asked you to send me something, I can't remember whatever documents you need.
Yes.
And we get from our sources, thank you, we're going to put up there and then you can download it.
Yes, I'll send
Philip
you.
thank you so much for the session. And Duduzile as well, Sarisha, Jabu, Dimakato, thank you guys. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for doing it, SEMA. We always get so many questions on this topic that it is good that you didn't explain it all to our audience tonight.